What do you call it when 3 sealed tombs sit under Saqqara for 3,000 years and only now start naming the dead? That is the unsettling part of this week's discovery. Egyptian archaeologists announced 3 rock-cut, New Kingdom tombs in the Bubasteion necropolis, inside one of Egypt's most layered burial landscapes. In a place already crowded with history, the newest layer was still waiting in the dark. Saqqara is not a random dig site. It is the cemetery of ancient Memphis, and the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities describes it as a vast necropolis with tombs from almost every period of Egyptian history. New Kingdom burials here are especially eerie because they mix sealed underground chambers with above-ground chapels, a design meant for ritual life after death. In other words, the dead were not simply buried here. They were housed. The reports landed fast between July 19th and July 21st, 2026, and the core facts line up across multiple outlets. Egypt Independent, Arab News, AP News, and the Ministry all describe 3 rock-cut tombs found in scientific excavations on the eastern slope of the Bubasteion cliff. That matters because this is not folklore or rumor. It is a fresh, public announcement backed by the ministry itself. The first tomb is the most visually striking. Sources identify its owner as Mentuhotep, and the walls include offering scenes and hunting imagery. Arab News says the inscriptions list titles such as hereditary prince, royal court servant, overseer of foreign lands, and overseer of the army of the city of Kepshet. That is not a quiet private grave. That is the burial signature of a man who stood very close to power. The second tomb belongs to Baramwaya, also called Samet. He is described as chief merchant of the House of Ta, which places him inside the machinery of trade and temple authority at Memphis. His wife Ta is named too, along with his mother Atpu and their sons. These tombs are not just stone rooms. They are family records carved into the dark, where status had to survive the body. The third tomb is in worse condition, but it still speaks. Surviving inscriptions identify Nasi as overseer of the house and name his wife, Neferuta. Even when a tomb is damaged, the names refuse to vanish completely. That is one reason archaeology feels unsettling here. The sand does not erase people. It preserves their last official version of themselves. At Saqqara, decoration usually means intention. Scenes of offerings and hunting were not random art. They were instructions for eternity, a visual system meant to keep identity alive after death. The walls in these tombs also point to the New Kingdom, roughly 1550 to 1069 BC, when Egypt was dealing with power, administration, and military expansion on a scale that still shapes how historians read the period. Officials say excavation is still ongoing inside burial shafts that have not been fully explored. That is where the documentary tension lives. A sealed shaft can hold more inscriptions, more objects, or nothing but collapse and dust. Either way, the uncertainty is real. The tombs have already spoken once, but the deepest chamber may still have another story waiting. Saqqara has been producing this kind of shock for centuries because it was never just one cemetery. The ministry notes that tomb robbers and dealers stripped parts of the New Kingdom cemetery in the 19th century, and a later map helped archaeologists rediscover the area in 1975. So when a new tomb appears now, it is not an isolated miracle. It is a reminder that the site has been partially hiding in plain sight all along. That is also why the Bubasteion location matters. This eastern edge of Saqqara is tied to the old Memphis necropolis, where elite burials carried titles, family lines, and political access. Arab News quotes Egyptian experts, saying the discovery adds another layer to the history of the ancient Memphis necropolis and daily life in ancient Egypt. The real horror here is not death. It is bureaucracy surviving death. You can see why the visuals hit so hard. Stone corridors, broken reliefs, and tight chambers turn an archaeological find into a sealed room mystery. Even the better preserved walls feel intimate, as if the tomb owner is still sitting just out of frame, waiting for his offerings to resume. If this kind of deep dive into the real dark past is your thing, subscribe for more history with the lights off. Still, the most sensational claims should stay on a short leash. Some early coverage hints at broader Near East links and bigger historical implications, but those ideas are preliminary. What is confirmed is narrower and stronger. 3 new kingdom tombs, named owners in at least 2 cases, decorated scenes, and titles that point to administration, trade, and military authority. That is already plenty. Mentuhotep's tomb is the one that feels closest to a time capsule. The hunting and offering scenes suggest status, provision, and the expectation that life after death would resemble a properly supplied household. In New Kingdom Egypt, death was not an ending so much as a managed continuation. The tomb was the machine that made that continuation possible. And yet these tombs also show how fragile that machine was. One is intact enough to read, another preserves family names, and the third survives mostly as inscriptions and condition notes. Archaeology often looks triumphant from the outside, but the real work is slow, partial, and cautious. The story is still being assembled bone by bone, line by line, word by word. The larger takeaway is simple and unnerving. Saqqara is not finished talking. The site has already yielded royal pyramids, elite cemetery zones, temple tombs, and now 3 more New Kingdom burials from a place scholars thought they understood. Each find does not erase the old map. It makes the old map incomplete. So the question at the heart of this discovery is not whether Saqqara is haunted. It is whether any ancient city this dense, this robbed, this rebuilt, and this heavily studied can ever be truly closed. These tombs were sealed for thousands of years, then reopened by science, not myth. And that makes the silence around them even stranger.